Real-world connections. Visit places, explore cultural connections, and examine artwork and objects virtually.
So at this point, we're going to pick up with those real world connections, the opportunity for students to visit places, explore cultures, examine artwork, and so on. So much of this comes to the concept of virtual field trips. This year, with so many people not even able to leave their houses, let alone travel very far, virtual field trips became just an opportunity to visit real places that were closed. You'll see when we get into some of the examples of this, a lot of our local attractions that you would have in a previous year actually taken students to, like some of the museums in the Smithsonian in DC, some of our sites up in Baltimore, as well as some of the historic places, Jamestown, St. Mary's City. They have virtual trips where everything is online and engaging in a 360 or video type of environment there. In addition to visiting real places, it allows them to examine objects and artwork. So we'll take a look at one of our favorite resources, which is Google Arts and Culture, that allows students to see artwork in famous museums and galleries around the world. And if anybody is a fan of going to art galleries to visit things, you know they have that velvet rope that only allows you to get so close to something. And if you try and lean over that rope, there's a guard in the corner that goes, back up, you're getting too close. You can actually get closer to the artwork on a computer screen than oftentimes you can in the real world if you could visit those galleries. We'll talk about some of the cultural options there as well. And finally, we're going to briefly look at the option for them to create their own virtual field trips. And that's done in Google Earth's projects feature. So the first thing I want to do is take you to the resource that Carrie and I have been creating on virtual field trips, because as she said, we've really tried to do a lot of the hard work for you guys so that you don't have to go out there and do a bunch of Google searches to find these things. So we're going to go right back to digital takeout. Carrie's already told you where you guys can find this on ClassLink. One of the pages or menu options that we have here on digital takeout is virtual field trips. And when you first come into virtual field trips, you've got a lot of information and resources here at the top. I'll come back to those in just a moment. But what I want to do is scroll you down to the virtual field trip experiences themselves. So please know that we are still working on this. We are adding new things to it all the time. Right now, what we have are slide decks dedicated to local attractions, zoos and aquariums, performing arts, national parks, space, museums, memorials, monuments, and historical sites, landmarks and wonders of the world, literary field trips, art galleries, and then, of course, just for fun, because sometimes you just need something that's a little bit different. What was the first one you found, Carrie? Hot air balloons was what led us to just for fun.
It may have been that one or the roadside attractions.
Yes. So sometimes you just need a trip that's a little bit of fun right there. So I went in and I grabbed one of my favorites as an example to show you guys, and that's on the landmarks and wonders of the world slide deck here. So if you click to open that one, what we've done with this one is we've split it up by continents. So you'll see that some of the larger continents have lots of different trips on them, like Asia has a lot more than Antarctica and so on. But one of my favorite places is actually in Europe. And so I'm going to take you guys into the Valeska salt mines today. Very cool, completely underground tunnels made entirely out of salt. And they've put these on a virtual environment for you. So here we are standing at the top of the stairs to go down into the salt mines. And again, this is interactive. So all the students have to do is click, and they're essentially walking forward to another location down in the mines. They can click on these information cards and actually see the same sort of plaque that would be displayed next to this piece of art or carving on the wall here. So they can read about the sculpture of St. Barbara and close out of that information card. They can even just use the scroll wheel on their mouse to get a little bit closer. So if they want to zoom in some on this item without actually walking forward, they can just scroll in and out. So here we are a little further down into the room, and this is what's called a 360 image, which means all I have to do is click on the screen to drag and turn and look in a different direction. So when they sent whoever took this imagery in, they did so with a 360 camera. So it's like I'm standing in the same place as the person who took this image. I can look straight up at the ceiling, look at these beautiful chandeliers. They even have some information about them because apparently everybody thinks they're spectacular. So it tells us they used to be candles, replaced by electric light, and so on. So this is one example of a virtual field trip experience. In addition to this, you'll find that some of them are 360 videos, where when you go into it, it's actually a video playing. But again, the students can click on the screen and turn and look in any direction that they would like. All right, I'm going to back out of this and back out of that particular slide deck as well. So I encourage you guys to come here and check out some of the slide decks, especially if anything fits into your content area, or maybe fits, any sort of summer initiatives that you're doing with the students. Before I go back up to the top, I want to point out this little red sort of do not enter sign that you see all over these. As we put together these resources for you guys, we found that a lot of these different sites had language or terminology in their terms of service that said no one under the age of 18 can use this site on their own, or no one under the age of 13. And that's where you'll find this little do not enter symbol here says it needs to be teacher-led, which means you would put this experience up on your screen and share it with the students just the way that I did when I took you guys into the salt mines. So you're the one who actually clicks to access the website instead of the students accessing it.
And Tracy, I'm just going to point, because this is coming up in the chat actually right now. It's like, again, Tracy, the other Tracy we had, you planted in the audience. You can take some of these links and give them directly to students. If you like the slide decks and want them to have an option of the trips that they go through, by all means, you can go into here and make your own copy of these slide decks and delete the ones that require them to be teacher-led. If you're high school, all of them are open other than the art gallery ones. Those are the only ones that must be teacher-led regardless of the age, and that is from our art department. But the others you could certainly take and modify. We always recommend, though, that you keep coming back and checking, because as Tracy said, we are constantly adding to this. This is kind of, we jokingly refer to it as our rabbit hole, where we intend to find something for something else, and then 3 hours later, we're still on, oh, I found this one, I found this one, I found this one. So we're always adding. Just wanted to point out, too, all of those links that you will find on those slide decks have MOI approval. We've taken care of that for you. So they are all ready to go for students. You just have to, again, abide by the whether or not they have to be teacher-led or not.
Awesome. Okay, so let's scroll back up to the top where I kind of ran straight past those resources up there. Again, we really wanted this to be just grab and go for you guys. We didn't want you to have to sit around and think about, okay, now I need to build a lesson around this. I need to put together all these resources. So at the top of the page where you have the link to all of those slide decks, we're giving you activity ideas. So what do you want them to do after you go on this virtual field trip? There's things like making a memory board. A passport activity is fantastic. You can have the kids fill out the passport over the course of a year, or over the course of your class, and then they can share with everybody what was their favorite place that they visited, or how many places did they visit. Something as simple as just a scrapbook, having the students take screen captures while they're in that virtual experience and put them together into some sort of a photo album, like a slideshow. I see, I think, I wonder, there's 3, 2, 1 reflections and thinking routines. So lots of ideas for what you can do with the students, maybe before or after you take them on a virtual field trip experience. One last thing that I want to show you guys in here, and then we're going to go out and talk about how the kids can make their own. Right back up here where the menu option is for the virtual field trips, you'll see we have a second page here dedicated to virtual field trip help. And this will let you know, number one, what sites are included in the virtual field trips. There's tons of stuff from Google Earth, because Who doesn't love Google Earth? If you don't love Google Earth, you haven't spent enough time with Google Earth. I'm obsessed with Google Earth. So there's tons of those field trip experiences from Google Earth, but you'll also find we've got links to Discovery Education's virtual field trip experiences. There's a site known as Street View Treks, which is sort of a partner to Google Earth, so also a Google-owned resource, and something called AirPano that has 360 photos. But what we did is we went through and we grabbed a whole bunch of resources that fit into our existing slide decks. So like landmarks and wonders of the world. And we went through and we grabbed some of those incredible buildings or natural structures and things. But there are hundreds of other sites and locations on a website like AirPano that aren't linked on our slide decks at this time because we don't know where to put them yet. So if you're looking for something and you don't see it on the slide decks that we have created for you guys yet, by all means, come to the virtual field trips help and take the link just to go to what AirPano has and take a look at all of these trips that we might not have referenced. I mean, there's tons of things. There's somewhere in France, China, Palau. Oh my goodness, on and on and on. I mean, I could just scroll for days. It would make you guys dizzy how much they have here. And that's just one of the resources that are linked there. So if you're looking for more than what we already have on the virtual field trips, check out the websites that we're pulling those virtual field trip experiences from.